Yes, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to Football United TV with my very special best friend, fellow DJ, Marlie from Rio de Janeiro, Atlantic Avenue, right?
Well, I don't live in the Atlantic Avenue, but I'm close to it.
You're
I'm
close.
close.
It's one of my favorite songs from a Scottish band called Average White Band called Atlantic Avenue. It's a beautiful song. And
Wow.
I don't know if
Is
you've
it
ever heard.
is it is it based on the Avenida Atlântica?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that sounds very random.
Going
But
down Atlantic Avenue. Let the samba take a hold of you. There you go.
do do Scottish singers like sing with a Scottish accent?
No, and this is the great story before we even start the show. They
Okay.
they don't. When you listen to them and you're not looking at them like live on a stream or whatever, you would
Yeah.
not think they're from Scotland. And I hate to say it because it's real good soul music. People would kind of think that they were black, and I've seen lots of reactions online where they go, "Man, I thought these guys were black," and I'm like, "See, it's just soul music. Blue-eyed soul is what they sometimes call it." But
Okay.
anyway, let's get into it. Let's start the intro. We're talking about the friendly that's coming up this weekend on Saturday. England versus Brazil friendly. Very big fixture because these are the two homes of football facing each other. And you know what's coming right now? It's that very special intro. And welcome back, Football United TV. This is a special preview for a very special game, even though it's a friendly between two of the homes of football, England versus Brazil. And I'm joined here today by a very special friend of the channel and of myself, of course, personally. Marlie, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me again. Good to be back. And well, not too excited to talk about that game in particular, but always good to be back.
Yeah, I know. Like, obviously, you've dominated football for a very long time, and a friendly doesn't necessarily mean much, even for England fans usually. But because it's Brazil, it's not like England are like, yes, we want to win it, and we're going to take the glory from it or anything. But it's just, I think, a nice game, a nice occasion between two countries that have probably the biggest passion there is for football. And I'm looking forward to it, mate. Honestly, because it's a showcase. Like I said, like it's sold out, 90,000, 88,000 to 90,000 people. It's a beautiful thing to hear. The kids love it as well, so it's good for the kids to see. And we haven't played each other, mate, since 2017. Can you remember the score?
No way. No
It's
way.
a very long time. At Wembley, by the way. I don't know about maybe at the Maracana, maybe recently because of Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think, scored an equaliser. That might have been after 2017. But we apparently haven't played at Wembley since 2017, and it was a 0-0 draw.
That sounds right.
Yeah, which that doesn't sound right. It should have been at least goals between us two. You don't want a boring 0-0 between England and Brazil. But mate, just so people know what's going on in the Brazilian national team. Obviously, you got your new coach as well. Please elaborate, educate, tell us how the national team is, and what do you think for Brazil in the future?
Oof. Well, this could take me a while. It's just a tough like transitional period for Brazil right now. Like there's a couple of factors playing into this. Like one that's big, and I don't think a lot of people have thought about that. Like a lot of Brazilian players, like a lot of Brazilian players, like near their peak, have gone to Saudi Arabia. You can talk about like Fabinho, who was just starting to decline, but you're still talking about one of the best, like number six in the world. Ibanez, who was just making it to the national team. Neymar, who like I'm not really in favor of him like keeping his place in the national team, and he's not here yet because he's injured. But that's someone who's still like on a good day, he's still one of the best Brazilian players out there. So you have that. Uh, you do see us struggling with a transition where like like that generation that should be hitting their prime, like there should be more players. Like we're expecting more players to hit like like good, great levels at around like I don't know 25 to 30, but it's actually not that many. You're thinking like Vini Jr., Paqueta, Douglas Luiz. Marnelli's not that old yet, but like Gabriel Jesus is great at club level, but he never quite lived up to expectations in the national team. That's why you still see Richarlison getting a lot of call ups, even though, like, you could argue that Richarlison should not be like that constant in the Brazilian team either. So it's just a tough period. Like, as always, we're thinking like there's always a hope that Brazil's going to get like a great batch of players. There's a lot of really exciting like 17 to 19, maybe 20-year-olds coming up. Go ahead.
Could I add Endrick in there to
Yeah,
try and
no, Endrick is definitely the most promising Brazilian star. Like he could still turn out not to be that great, but like he's 17. He's probably the best player of Palmeiras, if not the best, like one of the best players in Palmeiras, and they just won the league. Like he's a great player. Like he's already sold to Real. He's gonna go there soon. If Real actually gives you like the respect that you deserve, like that's a great place to grow. Like look at all the talents that's gonna be surrounding you. Plus now like you're going back to those years where you have like a huge Brazilian core in Real Madrid, right? With Militão, Vini Jr., Rodrigo. You have a lot of players there, so Endrick's going to be added to that list. And yeah, he's definitely the most promising one. Like, there's a couple others that could hit like very, very high ceilings, but you never know. And as of now, Brazil's definitely very lackluster. And to add to all of that, you do have a transitional period in management as well. Like, it wasn't working out with Fernando Diniz. That's very true. That's the Fluminense manager. As a Fluminense fan, like, I'm not too fussed about that. Like, he can go back to concentrating it all on Fluminense, and he needs to because we didn't start the season too well. But he didn't get enough time. Like, I kind of feel bad for the guy because he's a great human being, and I've spoken about that on the channel. Wait, did I
Where'd
click
you
on
go?
that? But that was by accident. Sorry, but I you kind of root for him because he's a good human being, like very human. But his way of playing is really like you need time to get that working. And with a national team, you don't really get time. So I feel like he would never really work. But he got less than 6 months, and they replaced him with a guy that I don't know if Johnny's ever gonna watch this. He was managing São Paulo, and he was successful with São Paulo. And the year before that, he actually he took over Flamengo in the last like I don't know 4 or 5 months or so. And again, like I think he won the Libertadores and the Copa do Brasil, the Brazilian Cup and the South American Champions League.
Yeah.
So he's been successful recently, but he's been around for ages. Like, I just don't feel like there's anything special about him. And that's the thing. Like, I don't know what's really gonna something needs to happen to make Brazilians realize that, and like to make the guys that make the decisions realize that. Like Chichi, like the guy that used to manage Brazil, right? Like managed us for two World Cups. Like, he didn't do well with the national team. Like, he had solid numbers overall, but he never did well in the World Cup. He went to Flamengo like by the end of last year. Since he took over, like he got better this year. Like the beginning of the season, Chichi's Flamengo is by far and away the best team in Brazil. Chichi is the best Brazilian manager, and he got given a huge chance. Like he was over, like he was managing us for like 7 years or so. It didn't work out because he wasn't good enough. We need to understand that Brazil is the home of football in our feet, but not in our heads. Like we're just not, like we just don't have that amazing manager. Like we've had some iconic managers in the past. Barreira, Zagallo, who recently passed away, Tele Santana, but it's been a while. Like we don't have a top tier manager. We don't have anything close to that. If Chichi was a manager like in and out the Premier League, like he would probably be like a mid-table manager or something like that.
Yeah.
And we need to get better than that. Like I argue that maybe Southgate is better than Chichi, maybe better than Dorival Jr., even though he's quite frustrating because you guys are going through a really good patch of talent and you haven't quite done anything yet. But we just, I hope it works out with Dorival Jr. It's going to be his first game. I'm very pessimistic, but you never know. And I hope it works out with him because I don't want to wait too much longer, right? Like Brazil stopped being great like a good 10 years or so. Like I need to come. I need Brazil to be back, but I just don't see it happening until we either someone steps in to become that great Brazilian manager again, or we just like realize that we need foreign managers. Like I'm not saying get an Argentinian coach, right? Like, we can go European. That's absolutely fine.
Well, I was going to throw that in. We obviously heard rumours of Ancelotti possibly taking the job at some
Yeah.
point. That kind of looks like it's soured down a little bit. Um, and you said maybe potentially at some point in the future, Pep Guardiola. But with,
Yeah, that's very like
hmm,
speculative right now. It's
hmm,
I mean the Pep Guardiola thing, like I remember I think he was still in Barcelona or maybe in Bayern Munich. And I remember reading something that he said one of his dream gigs, like one of his dream jobs would be to manage Brazil.
yeah,
Uh, which makes sense. Like it makes sense to me that a manager would want to manage Brazil. And I think like recently he gave an interview saying that one thing that he still wants to do is managing a national team. And I'm sure if he ever becomes a national manager, he's gonna go to one of the big dogs, right? But I don't. He didn't mention Brazil that time. Like I'm pretty sure, like right now, like it's anyone, like any France, England, like Brazil, Spain, Argentina that gives him a ring, like he's probably going to consider it after the Man City job, which I'm assuming like he's still going to want to stay for like 3 or 4 years. I'm assuming he's not paid too poorly, right?
no.
So, yeah, that'd be a dream scenario for me. I think that would look awesome. I feel like with a bad batch of Brazilian players, we'd still do miracles with Pep Guardiola because we do have a lot of talent here. And some players would actually grow like being called up by Pep Guardiola. So yeah, that would look amazing. The Ancelotti thing may like it showed the lack of organization in Brazil. Like it looked like a done deal, but then he always denied it. But CBF, who's the federation for with Brazilian Football Confederation, they uh they were making it very clear that it was a done deal, and Fernando Diniz, the Fluminense manager, was going to take over until Ancelotti was ready to jump in. But then, like Ancelotti always denied it. Then he decided to renew his contract at Real Madrid. Then they sacked Fernando Diniz. Then they got Dorival Jr. It's a mess.
Do you think it was
I
something to maybe do with Mbappe coming to Madrid, and he was kind of like, "I'd love to like be here to see that develop." Do you think that's the reason why maybe he kind of,
I,
because it's
I
been
never
going on quite some time, that transfer, isn't it? And we all kind of knew even like a year or two ago that eventually Mbappe would go. Um,
I never
and
thought about that, but that makes sense. If I was a manager and I was like, if I had a chance of managing Mbappe, yeah, maybe. I mean, he's one of my favorite players. Don't get me wrong, but it kind of looks like he's a dick. I don't know, like how how much managers actually want to work with him because he's extremely talented. But there's a lot of talent out there, and he legitimately looks to be like like someone who's gonna work hard and all of that. But
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like he's gonna need to be the main guy. And sure, like most clubs he goes to, he is gonna be the main guy because you're talking about one of the best players out there. But I don't know. I just feel like he's quite the diva. So I don't know how many managers actually dream of managing a player like that. You know.
absolutely agree. And I mean, look, you were also talking about England a little bit from your perspective, saying that Southgate could potentially be a better manager, etc. What do you make of England right now? I mean, this is probably the first time in a very long time that you can say England are potentially a much better side than Brazil. Am I going way overboard on that, or is that
No,
true?
I think if we try to go like player by player, if we create a starting 11 of Brazilian and English players right now, I feel like it would probably feature like a good 6 or 7 English players. Like not, I don't think I'm being too harsh. Maybe even more. Maybe close to an 8. Like I don't think I can. I feel like probably Marquinhos or Gabriel Magalhães at center back to partner John Stones. But other than that, I don't feel too confident with anyone else. Vini Jr. Okay, Vini Jr. is definitely like it would probably be Saka and him with I don't know, like you just improvise and put Foden at number 10 because he's killing it as well. But that
But then
might be it. And
you
the
have
goalkeeper.
you
Okay.
have Bellingham as well, don't you, in Foden's position? So it's quite difficult.
Yeah, dude, England right now, like talent wise, I mean, starting 11, England might actually be the most impressive national team in
Other
the
than
world right
France?
now. Starting 11 wise, maybe, mate. Like you have a lot of players that are like not only great players and promising players as well, but going through a really good period of football. Like you have uh Declan Rice is playing the best football he's ever played, like one of the best number 6 in the world. In the
Biased.
world. Belling what?
Biased, but yeah, okay. Interesting.
Bias, but you agree.
Yeah, I agree.
uh my bias is that he's the very best number 6 in the world, but without bias, he's one of the best. Um you have Bellingham, who's like no one expected him to be a goal scoring machine at Real Madrid, and well, he kind of like he's not really a goal scoring machine anymore. Like the beginning was kind of like frightening what he was doing, but still, like amazing player. Like he can pretty much play anywhere in the middle of the field, and best play and best football in his career. Saka, best season of his career. Foden, best season of his career. Two of the best wingers in the world. Walker's is like he's been one of the best defenders in the planet for a long time now. Ben White's not even getting called up, but he's playing the best football he's ever played as well.
He got called up, he turned it down.
Yeah, like I don't know how much of that I believe in, but like whatever the circumstances are, like England has a really talented like 11 or 15 players. If I'm talking like entire national team, maybe France edges it, but like starting 11, mate, I feel like maybe England takes it. If I'm going name by name, like I didn't even mention Harry Kane because he's been great. He's not having the best season of his career, but he's been great at Bayern too. Like a very lackluster Bayern, but he's scoring goals for fun, as you would expect him to in the Bundesliga, right?
He's the top
But
goal scorer in Europe at the moment as well.
yeah, yeah, because Holland hasn't really like been too great this season, and
Injuries, etc. Yeah, it's not been.
yeah, that too. But yeah, you look all over the place, mate. You look all over the place. Like England's just looking really good. Maybe you're missing a like top class goalkeeper. Like none of the options you guys have are amazing. Like that's a position that Brazil edges you guys with Ederson and Allison. But other than that, mate, England's looking solid. And I was thinking in my head, right, like how many of the Brazilian players go into the starting lineup for England. Vini Jr. is a most likely, right? But you could argue that Foden and Saka, like, there's no need for Vini Jr., right? But he's probably like slightly better than both of them, so sure, Vini Jr. would go there. Then, mate, you have Marquinhos or Gabriel Magalhães. I think Gabriel Magalhães is having a better season, so him and Stones. Um, and probably one of the goalkeepers. And you take your pick, right? Like I don't care. Like they're both better than Pickford or Ramsdale. Or,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
other than that, mate, like it would be a midfield of English players. I don't think any Brazilian player like has a claim to play in that midfield, right? Like you get Rice, Bellingham, and Foden, for example. Dude, what Brazilian player goes in there and plays? I think the best Brazilian player right now, like this minute, is Bruno Guimarães. And he's good, but he's not brilliant,
I'll
right?
go against that.
Would you say Douglas Luiz
Paquetá.
or Paquetá? But
I
even
just
Paquetá,
this season, for this
yeah,
season alone, and just the way that he's elevated West Ham's chances of actually being able to attack and do stuff. You
yeah.
see him playing West Ham. He's on the ball, and I know there's been some difficulty with him signing for Man City because of like I think it might be what is it for
I think it
breaching
was a betting scandal. It was a betting scandal.
betting. Yeah, so I know that's might make it difficult for him because he might end up missing some of next season. He might do. It depends on what happens in court, etc. But
Yeah.
I think that for me, he's been the most impressive I've seen. But I do agree with you as well that there are some other players as well.
Yeah, but even I don't necessarily disagree with you. He plays a very different position, so you could argue for a that's a good midfield, right? Like Douglas Luiz, Bruno Guimarães, and Paquetá, great midfield. Like I'm not like it's not something to complain about, but England's is like a lot better. You have Declan Rice, you have Trent can play as a number 8 as well, like and he's been getting compliments. You have Madison. Madison's been awesome at Spurs. Awesome. Uh that he's probably going to be starting, right? Like I'm assuming the wingers are going to be Foden and Saka, but then you have Sterling in the bench as well. I never really liked him, but he's a good enough player.
Who
Yeah, England's
Foden?
looking. Hmm?
Who Foden?
No, Sterling. Foden
Oh,
is like
Sterling. Oh well, he's. I
yeah,
think Sterling. I think he's gone down a little bit. He got booed obviously off the pitch
yeah.
the other day at Chelsea with Pochettino. It wasn't on his own, so at least he got booed with somebody else. But it just seems like Sterling's kind of like not going to be that. And I think he left the camp early for England in the World Cup last time as well. So there's a little bit of some funniness going on there. The same with
Okay.
Ben White. But yeah, I don't think Sterling's really in that mix. I think he might be able to come on and do something. But I think we've got players
Yeah,
now.
you have Foden, Saka, who are like both incredibly talented, like top 10 wingers in the world, and extremely young.
Yeah.
They're both like what 23 or something.
Hmm.
So you guys are looking good. Plus, you have like some really good talent that's not old either, right? Like I think Gordon at Newcastle. You have a couple of like younger players that are very solid.
I like Mainu as
So
well. He looks great.
who?
Mainu for Man United.
Yeah, there you go. Speaking of Man United, like maybe he's someone who's always going to be shining like outside of the league, but now that he's back at Dortmund, Sancho is actually playing well. The talent pool in England is like it's frightening right now, man. It's working out. It's working out well, and if I'm just looking at it like with the players that I already see, I feel like Brazil has a lot of catching up to do, and it would require both a lot of luck and a lot of incompetency from England sport for Brazil to have a prayer in this game.
What do you think's happened since I don't know, like Brazil being dominant was probably 2006 or 2010, maybe the last time they showed like a
Yeah,
brilliance in a team. But since then, it's kind of died down a little bit. Like 2014 wasn't the best team you've had. Yes, you made the semi-finals, but we all saw what happened against Germany
yeah.
and capitulation. But kind of since then, really, it's I feel like you've been waiting on your youth to come through again, like you usually do. You have your Pelés, you have your young players who start to bring up this new generation of Brazilian players,
We've
especially
been
for the team.
we've been waiting. We've been waiting for like 15 years for the next generation to come. Dude, honestly, like in my like spoiled Brazilian seat, I feel like the last time Brazil looked like Brazil in a World Cup was 2006. Like that was the last time Brazil's team was like, holy crap! Like look at that lineup. Like I didn't even like I haven't looked at the lineup for years, like maybe 5 years or so, but I can probably remember everyone that started in that team. You know, like you had Adriano in his best up top with Ronaldo. Robinho was in the bench, like turned out to be a monster, but like, quite the good player back then. You had Ronaldinho and Kaká in midfield. You still had Gilberto Silva. You had Lucio in the back. You had Juan in the back. I do think Thiago Silva actually was a better defender than both of them, but he never had a partner who was as good as these two guys were.
Is he
You
playing
had
for Brazil still, Thiago? Is he
I,
finished his?
I I I think he just finished. I think he's not going to get called up anymore. But you had Roberto Carlos and Cafu. Like those are probably the two of the most impressive as well. So yeah, and I think the goalkeeper was Gida, who played for Milan for ages as well. Like huge, like one of the best PK saver of all times. So that was a scary lineup. I feel like Brazil hasn't come close to that in a long time since then. And I think there's a lot, mate. I think first of all, Brazilian like was quite stubborn and not keeping up with football. Really, like I think there's a reason why like the most successful Brazilian managers in the 21st century are usually more like defensive oriented. That's because we're a little outdated. Not too long ago in Europe, those were also the most successful managers. Like you're looking at Mourinho back in his golden years and all of that, like some Italian managers, but it's not like that anymore. Like the best managers in the world by miles and miles are Klopp and Arteta. Klopp is not incredibly offensive, but you can't tell me that he's a defensive manager. So it's just like Brazil didn't keep up, and I've spoken about this for a long time. Like it's been maybe like close to 50 years since Brazilian players like actually had like full careers. There's a mindset of 50. I was probably exaggerating a bit. And you do have exceptions, right? Like Thiago Silva and all, but there's a mindset issue, and you just like I hate bringing this kind of crap, mate, but uh, you just look at some of the icons that Brazil had in the 21st century. Ronaldinho was once arrested. He's not arrested anymore. Like he was a minor thing, right? Like a fake passport or something. But look at Robinho. Look at Dani Alves, right? Like both rightfully in prison as they should be. Dani Alves is the player with the most silverware in history, right? Like he's the most successful player in the history of the game. He's in prison. Like there's a and it's tough to like bring up mentality when you're talking about these horrendous things, but they kind of go hand in hand. Like like some Brazilian players, like they do.
Was it Pato?
I think Pato had a scandal as well. Like he never went to prison or
Oh,
anything, but he did have a scandal. Like he was very connected with the Berlusconi family, right? Like that's a little sketchy. You have a lot of scandals, man. You didn't hear of this, but you had a very promising goalkeeper back at Flamengo in the early 2000s called Bruno, and he was like the next in line for the Brazilian goalkeeper job, and he's I think he's still in prison, or maybe he's like half time in prison, half time at home, or something like that. He's old now, but he had his, well, not a girlfriend, but like he impregnated a lady, and he got her killed. So, and that like it was found out, and yeah, he was in prison. I think he was arrested like back in 2009 or something. Yeah, and he was great goal. So you just like, I don't know. Like there's, and those are just the big scenarios, right? Like you also have the players who never turn out to do anything criminal, but like they like to party a lot. Like they, and I just feel like, in going like some complete different subject, and this also has to do with the fact that unfortunately Brazil is a very poor country, where a lot of the players come from like very poor families, and they don't necessarily have like their full studies, right? Like they don't develop like analytical thinking as well as maybe some like you listen to De Bruyne talking and you know that if he wasn't a footballer, he'd be a nerd somewhere else. Like that's a very intelligent human being who's
EA
very
Sports,
talented. What?
EA Sports,
What do you mean?
it'd be playing in the
Yeah.
World Cup for FIFA or FIFA, whatever it's called now. But yeah,
But he's very intelligent and he's not one of the most talented players out there, but he's very intelligent. You have that like and I'm not saying Brazilian players are stupid. No, not at all. We've had some geniuses, but they aren't taught, and that's probably because they can't be taught from an early age because as a norm, like they're not prepared for that. But like you can't do a La Masia in Brazil. You can't, you can't possibly have a youth setup where you have like, like everyone is in tune with that offensive style of playing. It would suit Brazil greatly, but you can't really have that. So there's a lot going on, mate. I feel like I'm afraid that it's going to be hard for Brazil to go back because, it's until 2002, I feel like talent came into it a little more than it does now. And Brazil needs to catch up, like with the whole organization, with the like mental thing, because we're always gonna have talent. Like you put the setup that they have in Spain in Brazil, dude. Give us 20 years and Brazil wins everything. But it's not that simple.
so what do you think, mate? Just to nearly finish it off, England's chances of actually lifting a trophy. We've got the Euros this summer in Germany, and being tipped to be the favourites to win it and lift it. Of course, with France with us along that
Mm-hmm.
lane. Do you think we got a good chance, and maybe for the World Cup as well? Do you think that's where England are kind of looking like they literally are building on from the 2018 World Cup where they got to the semis and got knocked out against Croatia, but they were showing that their youth is getting stronger? And do you think there's some good times ahead for England? Do you think they'll actually achieve something that since 1966, the only trophy apart from the Tournoi in I think 97 we lifted. You don't really count that but yeah, do you think we've got some promise?
I should say the 1966, like you guys robbed Argentina, like, but yeah, it was Argentina, wasn't it? It was in the semifinals.
Germany, mate. Final.
Germany, it was the final, but Argentina's
I
in the
Argentina
semis.
semis, I don't think.
I think you did. I know you were there and I wasn't, but I just
Go on, explain to me how that was a robbing then, if that was the case.
I don't quite remember. I just know I know that Argentinians like there's a football rivalry between Argentina and England because of that World Cup. But anyway, dude, when it should I feel like the thing with England that was already the thing like that's been the thing for like 4 years or so. It's very promising. I don't see any chance that England is not going to be like I think it's guaranteed that England's going to be competitive for a good decade or so.
It was Portugal in the semi-final.
Maybe did you guys play Argentina at all in that World
You're
Cup?
thinking quarterfinals of the 1986.
Okay, that might be it.
We got robbed, you mean?
That could make sense. Yeah, maybe. Mind blown. Don't quite care enough, but mind blown. But anyway, I think there is a slight, like slight Tottenham complex with England a bit. Like you do. England should for a while now be doing better than they are.
Mhm.
And right now, yeah, I feel like very few people are gonna tell you that, like England is now one of the two best national teams in the world. Like just going name by name. And just like France, most of your stars are actually up and coming. You could say that things could look a little doom and gloom in the back in a few years if you don't have like a couple of good defenders coming up. But other than that, mate, like look at the guys. Like you look at the front, like the three midfielders and the two wingers, like they're probably going to give you another 7 years or so at least.
Yeah.
There's going to be a striker that's going to replace Harry. Well, he's not going to be as good as Harry Kane. Like Harry Kane is a generational talent. Like he's amazing, but someone's going to fill for him. Like even like Foden plays well as a fake nine. Like there's going to be resource.
I think
Maybe
that's always been
maybe
a problem
defense.
with England, Marlies, because we've always actually had a very good defence. You know, you think Rio Ferdinand,
Yeah,
Terry, you think even in the
that was
90s.
the best defense I've ever seen from England. Those
Right.
two.
So we were good defending. That's why we didn't always get
Yeah.
battered, but we didn't have a very good attack. Like we didn't have a prominent striker
No,
really.
no,
Um,
you're talking about another era where England should have done a lot better than they did. Because
well,
you
like in
also like
between
along
96,
dude.
98 and 2010,
Correct me
maybe.
if I'm wrong, but along with these guys in the same generation, you had Ashley Cole, like you had Lampard and Gerrard, right? Like you had Wayne Rooney.
And Gary Neville on
Uh,
the right. Not that era.
Gary Neville slightly older, right? But you do have like all of these gentlemen like played together. That's a great pool of talent right there. Again, like this, like now I think it was slightly before that you guys played Brazil in 2002. Yeah, Rooney was very young back then, like but
David
that was
Seaman.
like that was yeah. Seaman, Beckham was already in that team. I think Michael Owen played up front. You had a really good team, but I think like 2006 would have been a year for you guys to do better. But
Yeah.
you did have Zidane like playing the best football like in his career and all of that.
Even though
Yeah,
he butted, who he headbutted, but it's
he
fine.
did. He did like one of the dumbest things like in a football game I've ever
Most
seen.
iconic thing as well, I guess, because you saw him walking down the tunnel and he looked at the trophy as he walked down. It was
That is a guy like the coolest story we could possibly write would be for Zinedine Zidane to manage Brazil. That would be the coolest headline ever for Brazil. I think Pep would probably be the most successful, but Zidane single-handedly eliminated Brazil twice. Like he beat us in 98 in the final, and 2006 my Thierry Henry scored the winning goal, but it was an amazing pass by Zidane. So like he single-handedly screwed Brazil. So if he was the man to bring us back to some kind of glory, that would be so freaking cool. That's a nice story. Like as a screenwriter, I think I'd appreciate that one the most. Yeah.
Well, just to end it off then, Marley, because we actually have talked quite a lot about this. We've got some good info. Please smash the like, share, subscribe if you are
Sure.
watching.
So
Thank you all for coming in. There is a poll as well we've got up. Who will win, or will it be a draw? England, 75% for a win. Brazil, 25% for a win. And a draw, 0%. So it looks like the people that are watching think that it's
I
going to
feel
be
like these games, like there's always a good chance it's going to be a draw, but this time, like I definitely feel like England's going to edge it.
It was a 0-0 draw last time. Can you remember before we go on to your prediction of what you think the score will be, your favourite game or experience against England that you've seen in your lifetime? I know there hasn't been too many.
2002.
Right, yeah.
2002.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Yeah, I
make
know.
sure. Yeah,
I
okay.
remember that one very vividly. I was young, like I was 9, but I remember that one. I remember Ronaldinho absolutely killing it, then getting a red card with an elbow. But just like that assist for Rivaldo for the first goal, and that second goal, like I have no clue if he meant to cross it or if he actually meant to shoot it. But like that happening in a World Cup, like a quarterfinal as well. I was one back in '94, so I did not watch that one. So yeah, that's like the World Cup, like for me, like, it's the only one I watched Brazil win, and that England game is definitely one of my favorites there.
The Ronaldinho free kick from Jabrock. Cheers. Big up, Jay. My favourite memory of an England goal against Brazil. So when I wasn't born, but I remember seeing it even when I was a child, was the John Barnes at the Maracana. Don't know if you've ever seen it before. We dribbled through pretty much half the
No,
team. But the one I remember when I was alive was the Oxlade-Chamberlain goal at the Americana. Don't know if you remember that one either. That was not too far away.
I don't. But I should say, not, like it's not my favorite moment, and now maybe that Ronaldinho goal like might take it as the most iconic moment between the two teams. But a very strong contender would be the save, right? Like, was it the Banks save against Pele back in
LA. As I said, it
1970?
was the most famous.
That's one of the most famous saves of all time, if not the most, right? Like, if not the most famous.
It went
So
in. It was past the goalkeeper. I don't know how he managed to just
no,
go.
yeah, that was nuts. That was nuts. And yeah, it was against like it would make it more famous that it was Pele heading in, right? So it's yeah, that's probably the most iconic moment between England and Brazil.
I think so. What is yours in the chat? If anybody is here right now, I know there's 7 of you. Smash the like, share it, subscribe if you can. There is a poll as well. Put your polls in. We are going to be finish up very shortly, and we're going to ask Marlie right away. What do you think the score is going to be, mate? Not that it matters. It's only a friendly. We're just trying to see what
Yeah, yeah.
both teams can do before the Copa America and the Euros. So
Okay, it's not like it's not like Southgate has it in him to like steamroll past Brazil either. Like, so I'm not gonna. I don't think it's gonna be a huge like massacre or anything like that. But 2-0 England, something
okay.
like that.
I don't know when the last time we beat you at Wembley. To be fair, I don't. I don't even remember actually in my lifetime that I've seen it.
It's one of those times like like it's never gonna be embarrassing not beating Brazil. Like, even if Brazil's crap, like it's not embarrassing not beating Brazil. But this is like, I don't remember another game where I feel like you guys do have some sort of responsibility to, if not beating Brazil, like looking like you should have beaten us. Like, if it's a draw, but you guys looked like you were gonna be the victor at all 90 minutes, right? Like, you were putting pressure on us, and then our goalkeeper is having a spectacular game. By the way, I don't think Ederson or Allison are available, so I don't think that's gonna be happening, right? Like, I don't see the third goalkeeper, putting on a show. So, but if that's the case, then sure. But if you guys don't play better than Brazil, it should definitely make you think about like if you should be keeping the management or not, because it's I don't know, it should be kind of a crucial point, right? Like, you're playing the most successful country in football at a stage where like you're by far the best team. I'm not talking about slim margins here. Like, England is better than Brazil across the board. And because we don't have Addison or Allison right now, you're actually better in all four positions, right? Like, in all four
Yeah,
sectors of the pitch, England's better than Brazil. So, and
for once, for
it's the
once in
first,
our life.
yeah, exactly. And Brazil is like managed by Dorival Jr. for the first time. Again, good, decent manager who's been successful, but nothing, absolutely nothing special about him. Like, he's not gonna make people like play brilliantly. So it's kind of like England's time to beat Brazil and to show that, right now, like, I know, like, you guys stole football from us, and now like Brazil's home of football instead of England. But right now we're better than you guys, and we should show it.
How did
I
we
feel like that.
steal football from you? I get we stole the beauty of it. Yeah,
No,
we
no, 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 no. We stole it. Brazil stole football from England.
no
We
you
made it. We
didn't
made it. That
I don't even
football's home
feel
is
it.
Brazil.
You borrowed it. You borrowed it, and you made it more of an art form than we ever could have done on mucky fields
Yeah.
up in the north on a.
However you want to phrase it, like, football was born in England and it moved to Brazil. Sure, but right
Love
now,
football. I'd do that just as a human being, let alone football.
but right now, you guys are a lot better, and I feel like you. I don't know. I don't know how the noise is, and like, I haven't been watching a lot of stuff or listening or reading to anything, so I don't know how much this game is being talked about, but it should be a big one because it's like it should show a good, like, a huge transition where like you're a lot better than Brazil. Like, beat them, show the world that you're one of the best national teams.
But is there not like some sort of counter-attack from that with Brazil to try to say, look, we haven't fallen off. I know we haven't been playing so well in the last World Cup and the Copa America. You
Yeah,
got
mate.
Argentina, so it's
They're
like you.
gonna try. They're gonna try. When Fulham goes up to City, they try winning. It's it happens, mate. Like you got to go and prove yourself. But right now, like that different. Okay, that's a little exaggerated, but you're talking about like it's a difference from like I don't know, maybe a West Ham to City.
Okay.
That's the difference I reckon we are at. Like England is that much better than Brazil. England is not as good as Man City is, but I honestly feel like Brazil might not be as good as West Ham is, or like just slightly better. So it's not a much bigger difference. I feel like yeah, there's a possibility that if you guys are like pushing us, pushing us against a corner, and you're not too careful, we do have arguably the best counterattacking. Dude, that's happening automatically. I did not touch anything.
You have a ghost in there. I think it must be. I thought that was a real ghost voice as well. You're very good at that, actually.
Thank you, dude. I think my computer's doing something. There's a chance. Okay, screw it. I'm gonna finish with my camera off. It's not
Yes.
me, mate. I apologize.
Oh,
I'm just concluding here.
yeah.
I
Conclude.
I feel like Vini Jr. is probably the best counterattacking player in the world right now. So sure, if you guys are attacking us and you're not too careful in the back, if Rodrigo is also playing, our counterattack is still looking really dangerous.
Yeah.
But other than that, I just feel like England has a really good chance of dominating across the board. Like our midfield is gonna stand very little chance of like touching the ball a lot if you have Rice, Bellingham, and Madison. Like it's I just feel like it's gonna be too much to deal with. And yeah, I'm gonna try to watch this game as an Arsenal fan, mate, just rooting for Rice and Saka, because as a Brazilian fan right now, unless André comes in, who I'm always excited to see play, I just feel like it's gonna be a miserable night. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know when the game is. When is that?
This Saturday
This
at
Saturday.
4 o'clock your time, PM. So 7 o'clock kickoff in the
There you go. I'm not even gonna be able to watch the game. So there you go.
highlights, won't you? Potentially, you might do because you never know. It might be a cracking game. Something might happen. I know it's a friendly, but so you're
Yeah.
saying England to win 2-0?
Yeah, that'd be my guess.
I'm going to say 2-2. I think it's going to be a draw.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think it will be one of those games where England tries things out, Brazil do too. I think it will be a good game, but I don't think it'll be high intensity. But I think we'll see some decent play, some skills. I think it'll be one of those sorts of games. And of course, Marlie, just to finish off as well, you're going into the Copa America this summer as well with the Euros happening. How do you think your
Mhm.
chances are quickly in that competition?
Hadn't thought about that one. Yeah. I mean, as of now, it's not looking great, but there's like the entirety of South America is not doing awesome, right? So it's
Even
I feel like
Argentina don't look great, do they? Really? Like,
yeah, Argentina did just win the World Cup, but I just feel like they were kind of fortunate
yeah,
to win that one. I don't think there's anything too special about them, but I definitely put them ahead of us.
yeah.
Not by a lot. Not by a lot. Like just because they just won. So just because of experience or something, I'm gonna put them ahead of Brazil. And that's probably it. Like Colombia hasn't been playing poorly. They've actually been playing well. You always have one or two teams who kind of step up. Like Uruguay's trying to come back to being a good team, but I feel like Brazil should be second best. But just because of like everything that's going on, dude, like I just have a hard time believing that Brazil can win anything. So I think the Copa America is coming a little bit too soon for Brazil.
Yeah, okay, I get that. I think it will still be between, of course, you two, but whether you
Yeah.
reach it or make it to the final and not face each other before that. I think it could be another Brazil versus Argentina final, of course.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
Colombia are not looking too bad as well with the players that they're coming up with, but yeah, I think it's just between you two nations, to be fair.
Hmm. That
And
makes
the
sense.
Euros. What about the Euros? Who do you think?
Oh, I think I've said my piece on that one. Like
Maybe
I mean,
yes.
you can never like discard just like not even think about like an Italy or maybe even a Germany, but you just you look at the two teams or maybe Spain, but you look at those three like they're just not that good right now. Like I just feel like there's a gap in talent between England, France, and then these other guys. Um, I don't know, maybe Portugal with Ronaldo and the last hurrah, but I just feel like yeah, the gap's a little too big, man. The gap's a little too big. I know Croatia was doing well for a long time, but I just feel like it's an aging team that's not going to be able to keep up. Like Modric needs to slow down at some point, right? And Rakitic, like aging player as well. I don't think Kovacic is as good as these guys.
No.
And yeah, Belgium is just not as good as it was a couple years ago. So or like the Netherlands, like Holland, like not even close to the peak here. So yeah, I'd say definitely between England and France. If there's a surprise, I'd put my money in on Italy surprising just because it's Italy. Like I'd argue that Italy is the second biggest country in football history, so probably them just because they have a big shirt, right? Like a big kit, big history, but I can't even name you like the 11 players, so just it's a hunch.
It is, but yeah, I take that as well. I mean, it's Italy, isn't it? At the end of the day, if
Yeah,
you're wearing that shirt, you saw what they did at the Euros. They weren't really meant to get to the final, really,
yeah,
but they pushed through. They have some decent talent, of course,
yeah,
and yeah, it could be a tight one in the Euros this summer, mate.
exactly.
Right, Marlene, we'll finish it off there. We went well over time, but I think that was because it was purely interesting, and I wasn't keeping an eye on the time. Please do smash a like if you can, share. Please subscribe if you can. We are on the road to 1K. We're still on there. We've got 922 subscribers. And I haven't done a lot of content recently, and nor's Anthony, because to be honest, I've been traveling quite a lot and I've been enjoying the free time and just watching football as a fan. And Man United have been crap. So I've not really been wanting to go on talk about Man United for a while, even though we won the other day. And I didn't think that I was just going to do some sort of random vlog just because we won a game. But I will be getting back into doing more shows. So please stay with us if you can. It's very nice of you to all of you to come in the comments and say things as well, especially Jay as well, who came in and said it was a 1-1 during the 90s at Wembley. I can't even remember that. I'll have to look that up. But Marley,
Yeah,
thank
no,
you
no
so
problem.
much for coming on again, mate.
Thank you, mate. Thanks for having me. Good to be back.
And not that I necessarily need to do this because I know you've dropped out on a lot of social media, but mate? Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, no, I actually deleted my Twitter account. I don't think he was, I don't think he was doing me well, right? Like it's just too aggressive of a platform for me. It was making me have arguments with rival fan bases, so I stopped that.
Yeah.
That was mostly Brazilian football, though, but still. I got kind of cocky with Fluminense winning the Libertadores. It happens, but I did delete it. Well, if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can. Like, you don't have a lot of reason to, but if you want to, at Charlie Millen 93. My bad. Yeah, go ahead. I'll follow you back. But I don't post anything there. You should know.
Brilliant. And you can follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and on here if you can. Football United TV. I hopefully will be back next week with a Man United chat. We got to do more Champions League shows, of course. But thank you so much, everybody, for supporting. It's really good, even to have a community of 922 over the past 3 or so years. Never really wanted to make a big deal out of this channel. It's just nice to be able to come on and express your feeling of your love for football, and I'm honoured to be able to chat here with my good friend Marlie today. This is what brought us together. So thank you so much, Marlie. One love. There we go. There we go. And watch the game Saturday, 7 o'clock p.m. UK time, 4 o'clock Brazilian time. If you are
Wait,
Brazilian,
what is it? 7 p.m. UK, you said? Okay,
7.
that makes sense. Yeah. 7-4, yeah.
I know it's going to be 4 hours difference very soon with the daylight savings coming up.
We don't have that anymore, but if you
No,
do, yeah, it's gonna change. Okay.
so it will be 4 hours eventually,
Yeah.
but it's 3 hours at the moment. There you go.
Okay.
I've learned. I've learned. Take care, everybody. Smash a like, share, subscribe, and we will see you again very soon. I'll get Anthony to come on and do a show. Pretty sure he will. He loves it. But until then, everybody, take care. Have a brilliant rest of your week. Stay
Ciao.
classy.